Shalom. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim out of Atlanta, and I'd like to bring to you an article that I found on Yahoo News. It reads, Texas principal forced to resign over critical race theory. And this principal was in the news maybe a few months ago, over some provocative pictures he posted of him and his wife. He has a so-called white wife, maybe Edomite, maybe not, who knows. But he posted some provocative pictures of them together, and it was a photo shoot of them, but they were kind of suggestive, and I believe he was suspended over it or something about it, but it made the news. But anyway, this principal has actually been forced to resign recently because of his teaching of critical race theory, which, as Elder Malcolm calls it, critical race facts. I like to think of it as critical race truths because it sticks with the CRT. But let's go ahead and get into the article. I'm going to try to read through this quickly and get into some scriptures. So this is in Cooleyville, Texas. The black principal of a majority white Texas high school, who has been embroiled in a controversy over critical race theory, was forced to resign after months of accusations that he indoctrinated students. The Grapevine Cooleyville Independent School District Board of Trustees voted Monday to part ways with the principal, James Whitfield, who was suspended this year at Cooleyville Heritage High School in the Fort Worth area. The school board had voted in September not to renew Whitfield's contract. NBC Dallas Fort Worth reported, "This is beyond me," he said in an interview Monday with NBC News. "I'm hopeful that we can use this to move forward and to progress and get some meaningful change, and for people to be okay with teaching truth, people to be okay with embracing inclusivity and diversity, celebrating every student that walks through the doors of our schools." And he's right. It is truth. The Edomites were terrible, and their history is shameful, and they're embarrassed that this is coming out, and they're angry about it, and they're showing that with all because they can't stop talking about CRT. Moving on, Whitfield will remain on paid administrative leave until August 2023, which good for you, man. In a joint statement, Whitfield and the school district said that they had mutually agreed to resolve their disputes. Both the district and Dr. Whitfield each strongly believe they are in the right. However, each also agrees that the division in the community about this matter has impacted the education of the district's students. The statement read in part, "The district and Dr. Whitfield have mutually agreed to resolve their disputes." Parents accused Whitfield of pushing critical race theory, or CRT, which has become a flashpoint for people who say efforts to teach America's difficult history on race and to make classrooms more comfortable with diversity have become too divisive. And the Lord isn't about everyone coming together. He comes to bring division. But there is no evidence that Cooleyville Heritage High School or Whitfield taught critical race theory, but a host of incidents made him a target in recent months, including allegations of insubordination and accusations that he deleted emails as public records and did not cooperate with an internal investigation, NBC Dallas Fort Worth reported. Texas is one of 8 states with broad new laws banning the teaching of critical race theory a decades-old graduate-level study that examines the relationship between the law and racial inequality. And I gotta say that's an unrighteous decree, because it really is. It's the truth. Esau was wicked and terrible and nasty, and he's trying to hold his true history back. But we know that all he does is change history. But I'm gonna get Isaiah 10:1, because that is an unrighteous decree. Isaiah 10:1 reads, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed." And that's this broad new law banning the teaching of critical race theory is an unrighteous decree. But moving on, conservative organizers and parents have seized on the phrase, turning it into shorthand for a suite of lessons or programs that they say are un-American. In America means bitter, and the opposite of bitter is sweet. And so why would you? You should want to be un-American. And that can make white students feel collective guilt, or black students see themselves as helpless victims. And if you're in this truth, you know that you're not a victim, that we are responsible for being in the situation that we're in because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments of our Father, Yahweh, and we're under the curses. But the white students feeling collective guilt, they should feel guilt. And I'm going to get Sirach 41:7. "The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake." And their ungodly father, going back through their forefathers, which they were nasty, but their forefather Esau was one of the most ungodly of all. And that makes me think of the word profane, which I'm going to move to Hebrews 12:6, because they have the most ungodly of forefathers. Give me 1 second. Twelve and 16, excuse me. Hebrews 12:16. "Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears." And I want to get this word profane. Oh no. So fornicator is pornos. That's where you get the term pornography from. But we want to get the word profane. And that's Strong's G 952. Babalos. And it's accessible, lawful to be trodden of places. Profane, unhallowed, common, public place of men ungodly. And that's what I wanted to see. The children will complain of an ungodly father. Esau, ungodly, profane. Going back to the article. Some people said at Monday's school board hearing that the controversy was purely political, while others said it shines a negative light on the community. It's going to sound crazy, but for those who have been following this is Christian nationalism. This is white Christian nationalism. And it sounds like that's what it is, because Christianity, as we know it today, is what you could call Renaissance Christianity or plantation Christianity. And the Edomites, who are the so-called white people, the self-proclaimed white people, they changed all the characters in the book, in the Bible, to be so-called white people. But the scriptures call them red people, and they are the Edomites. And they've filtered the Bible through their lens and put in figures over in Israel that are white, and they're so-called white, but they're actually in fact Edomites. And their cult of Christianity runs in certain ways, and it's damaged the whole world, and that's what we're seeing in this part right here. But moving on, went on a little rant. That's what I think is happening here, said a parent, Laura Lehman. I think that a lot of people who really support public education and do support diversity have been asleep at the wheel. And there's no time for us to sleep. Speaking of sleeping, let's get Romans 13 and 11. And that knowing the time, that now is high time to wake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than we believed. And she's right. It's no time to be sleeping. The Edomites are being called out, and the Israelites are being gathered. And by the way, the Israelites are the Negroes, the Latinos, and the Native Americans, as well as anyone who descends from that seed who might look like the other nations. Moving on, Victor Dupuy, whose children graduated from the school district, said Whitfield's ouster paints a horrible picture for our district. What it says to a lot of people, including students, teachers, and administrators, is if somebody has an axe to grind, take it to the board. Next thing you know, your jobs are at risk, Dupuy said. Mia Sangvi, I guess she's a Elamite, an East Indian, a Cooleyville Heritage High School graduate, just from her name, I'm guessing. The Cooleyville Heritage High School graduate called the controversy outrageous and said it was part of a subtle racism that has always existed in Grapevine. It's just outrageous that we've come to this point, Sangvi said. I've lived in Grapevine my whole life, and of course there's like that subtle racism, but now I'm starting to feel unsafe in my own community. Sangvi said that because of things like this happening and things in Southlake that are happening, it really feels like we're taking a step backwards in this country, especially in Texas. Multiple parents who supported Whitfield's firing have declined to comment. It's just like the devil, to flee when no one's chasing. Texas's anti-CRT law has aggravated tensions over how to confront and discuss racism in Southlake, the subject of the NBC News podcast Southlake. Recently, a top administrator with the Carroll Independent School District in Southlake told teachers that they would need to balance books about the Holocaust with opposing perspectives to comply with new guidelines. After NBC News published exclusive audio of the exchange, the district apologized. Even though he's leaving his job, Whitfield said he intends to remain in education in hopes the controversy is the beginning of a bigger conversation. Education is my heart and soul, he said. That's my purpose. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have somebody that was there leading that way and guiding me towards better things. And that's the article. And I'd like to go to Job 18 and read down from there. So I'm going to start at Job 18 and 5 and go down. Yeah, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. And that light goes into their prosperity and how their ways are the ways of the earth, and that's what everyone looks towards. And so their prosperity will be put out. Verse 6, the light shall be dark in his tabernacle, that's Esau's tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and straightened, that word right there, when it's spelled S-T-R-A-I-T, that goes into a narrow path, a difficult path. And so the Lord is making everything difficult for him at this point, and you can see it because they're, especially with the CRT and everything that's going on in the world, everything is not as easy as it used to be for Esau. It's making it harder for him. And his own counsel shall cast him down, for he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The jinn shall take him by the heel, and that's a trap, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terrors shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. And you can tell everybody is calling this man out, these people out. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. As in, his strength is like starving, hunger bitten. It shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. The firstborn of death is Yahushua. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors, Yahushua. It shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his, because they stole everything. And brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. His roots shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. That's because he's going to be genocided. Obadiah 1 and 18. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. Verse 19. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Reinforcing that. Obadiah 1 and 18. They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they that went before were affrighted. That makes me think of Isaiah 14, where it says, This is he, this is the man. Verse 21, surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not the Most High. And with that, I want to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakach, Gadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.